Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming, I'm Nathan, and today I have an Elden Ring DLC build to check out. So Shadow of the Erdtree is out, and I'll be honest, it's kicking my ass. Basically makes me feel like I never got good in the first place, which is fine. Love me a good challenge. But what I really bought this DLC for is for one thing, that part in the trailer where I saw a man punching. I want to punch bosses to death with an unholy rage, and it turns out this build is actually pretty fantastic for this DLC. So if you share my vision, let's make Kit Fisto and punch some baddies. Here's my Bloody Fist build for Shadow of the Erdtree DLC in Elden Ring. So we're gonna grab ourselves the fist weapon called the Dryleaf Arts, which is currently the only fist weapon as far as I can tell that isn't claws, which is a bit of an ordeal to get early, but don't worry, I gotcha. The legit way is to fight through a big castle in the middle of the map to get to the other side, but I say screw that, I suck at video games, so let's just take a shortcut. From the start of the DLC, you'll head up and grab the map piece, then keep going across the bridge till you hit a grace in front of a castle. Facing the castle, we're going right and then down into yet another swamp. Miyazaki, what are you doing? And then around the side near a bunch of big cliffs. Now what you're looking for is a jump booster here, but it will start as inactive, so you're going to need to destroy a jump booster rock or whatever to activate it, because nothing is ever easy in Elden Ring. So once you do that, it'll fling you up the cliffs and you'll go up again, and you'll have snuck into the back of Fort Retromand. We're not visiting long, so just hit the inside grace, run out and hit the outside one, then run through the little cavern and just follow the road north. The first grace you'll hit is called the Mooric runes, and there will be an NPC there named Dane who won't talk to you. He has our fists, but we'll be coming back for him. Keep on heading north following the road, and when it splits, turn left until you hit the Highland Cross side of Grace. This is on the other side of that aforementioned castle, and on a nearby wall you'll find the gesture "May the best win." We're gonna need this to challenge our boy Dane to prove we're worthy of the power of Fisto. Warp back to the Mooric runes and use the "May the best win" gesture in front of him and prepare to fight. I personally found him to be very easy, which is weird considering the rest of this DLC, but regardless, when you beat him, you'll find a note, our Dryleaf Arts, and his cool hat that makes you look like Raiden from Mortal Kombat. Now before we use it, since we're in the area, let's go grab an important talisman. As you head into the Mooric runes on your map, you'll run past all the guys and their stupid dogs and head downward, where eventually you will hop onto a roof. To the left of that roof, you'll find our item, the Shattered Stone Talisman, which says it increases kicking and stomping skills, but in my testing, it does also seem to increase damage of just your regular kicks if they're a part of your combo string, which means you should absolutely include it. Okay, so we got the fist. Why did we go through all this trouble? Well, let me tell you what's great about them. First, they're insanely light. If you want to build a light build, this is a great option with the Blue Dancer amulet, but I didn't do this because I suck and get hit all the time. Secondly, they attack brutally fast, and when you two-hand them, you have an absolute massive combo string that you can weave heavy and light into. Seriously, going from Gravity Beastie 2 to this was like drinking 25-hour energies with a chaser of Adderall. You're doing that Fist of the North Star 2000 punches thing at once. It's amazing. Added bonus is that your hits use very little stamina, which rules because it means you can slap out some fat chains and still have stamina to roll or block, whatever you need. I never ran out while playing this build. There's a big secret sauce also that I think people aren't talking enough about. This weapon's charged R2 is insane. It does 2 lunging kicks that not only do a ton of damage, but also do a ton of poise damage, which is really great because your normal R1s do very little poise damage. And the regular R2 is good as well, so don't forget to use it. And of course, I mean, yeah, they look cool. I can't wait to take them in the New Game Plus and punch bosses to death. Now, of course, they do have their downsides. The big one being range. You gotta get up close. So the kick and the combo does have an arc, which is nice. And again, that R2 does a little charge. As mentioned, you also don't stagger a lot unless you use that charged R2. Though I honestly think that might be because of the DLC. I brought this back to the main game and I was staggering stuff all the time, so who knows. Anyway, you got it now. So let's pop back to our smith and max it out, or as close as you want. And let's talk ashes and status ailments. So the ash I'm recommending to start with is Bloodhound Step for very obvious reasons, which if you haven't gotten it, you get it by killing the Black Knight here on the map. Now there is one we're going to swap it for later in the DLC, which I'll get to. It requires doing a bunch of stuff, so I'll mention it at the end. But for me, Bloodhound Step was perfect for how I play, as it's a quick cast dodge / teleport that helps close or make distance with you and foes. Since your fists have piddly range, being able to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee was absolutely worth it. And now we have to get to the part where decisions must be made. So I tested with stuff like heavy scaling and things like that, but because of the attack speed, it felt like a waste to not put some sort of status ailment on these things. So I tried both Ice and Bleed, and my results were inconclusive. Well, I eventually landed on Bleed as per the title of the video, but let me talk about Frost really quick because it is also very, very good. This weapon builds Frost absurdly fast, like seriously within seconds, and if you pair it with a fire weapon to toss onto your offhand to hit the enemy and remove the Frost, you can deal tons of damage very quickly by reapplying Frost over and over. The reason I didn't go with Frost is because A, switching weapons required work and I'm an idiot, and B, I found Bleed worked best with my playstyle overall, since if you can keep stringing attacks, you can pop it fairly often, even on bosses. So my suggestion would be pick Frost if you end up going lighter armor and want to dance and weave around foes, and Bleed if you're like me and want to just punch and probably get hit a lot. And of course, an add bonus for Bleed is you don't need to put points in Int. Bleed scales okay with Dex and Strength, and of course, Arcane helps. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say you will be bleeding enemies like there's no tomorrow because you hit so much. So as for armor, as mentioned, you can go the light boy way, but I chose a different path, which was, since the fists are so light, I equip the fattest, chunkiest armor I could without fat rolling. The reasoning is this: you'll want poise in order to be able to punch through your combos without being interrupted. Your goal with this bleed build is sustained damage to keep proccing the gushy Kool-Aid, which means you're going to probably end up tanking hits on accident. Pick whatever looks coolest. For the amulets, the choice is pretty easy. Rotten Wing Sword insignia and or Melisand's prosthesis. Our must includes, if you have to have both because you're in New Game Plus, put them both on. As mentioned, the Shattered Stone Talisman should 100% be included because it buffs your kicking animations. Dragon Crest Great Shield is great because holy hell do these DLC enemies hit hard. And for the fourth, it's a bit of a flex slot depending on what you need. Lord of Blood's Exaltation is an easy choice. Claw is nice for jumping. Bull Goats is nice for poise. And Godfrey's really good if you use that charge heavy a lot. I personally went for Lord of Blood's Exaltation for bosses and Godfrey for just wandering around kicking things. Now for hats, the white mask is our one of choice, as it gives the Lord of Blood effect and stacks with Lord of Blood, which I would be wearing if I hadn't forgotten that if you don't get it before killing Mog, you can't ever get it. So don't be like me. Kill the white mask bozos in Mog's realm before killing Mog himself and going into the DLC. I end up just using Okina's mask for the dex and shame. So if you hate any form of magic, you can just use this going forward, pretty easy. But for me, I almost always supplement my melee builds with faith buffs, using the Beast Claw Talisman as its strength scales, and things like Bestial Vitality for some nice passive health, Golden Vow because it's amazing, and Flame Cleanse Me because I hate Scarlet Rot. If you want to do this, it requires 25 faith to use Golden Vow. I personally think it's worth it, but if you don't, you can spend your points elsewhere. In terms of stat leveling, if you're in this DLC, you better know how to build a character, so I'm not going to go too much into depth. Needless to say, our primary scaling is Strength, Dex, and Arcane, so apply accordingly. I will say you probably don't need much Mind, because the two weapon skills I'm going to recommend have very low FP usage, so don't waste points on it unless you really want to. And yeah, that is the build. I'm almost done with the DLC, and it has proven extremely effective against almost everything. I am a huge fan, and I'm really glad I was able to get the fists early so I could get used to them before the DLC got extra hard. Now, as you continue, there is one more ash worth considering, the Dryleaf Whirlwind Ash of War, which you get around halfway point in the DLC. You have to beat one of the dungeons to get through to it. This ash absolutely slaps, and you should swap Bloodhound's Step Out once you get it. It basically gives you a super powerful kick chain for very little FP, and our Stone Talisman buffs it, so yeah, use it. The one thing I do wish I could have tried was getting a second Dryleaf Arts in New Game Plus and putting ice on it and then dual wielding them if the game lets you do that. I'm definitely going to try that once I beat the DLC and cycle through again. So if it ends up being awesome, I'll put it in the comments or make a short video about it. But regardless, best of luck with the DLC and have fun fisting everything alive. Wait, that came out wrong. Nah, thanks for watching regardless. If you enjoyed this guide, please let me know in the comments. I got a bunch of other ones about all the Dark Souls games and of course regular Elden Ring and Fallout 4. So check those out and let me know if there's any other builds you want me to try and take a look at. But regardless, have fun and good luck with the Elden Ring DLC.